Another major misconception that needs to be addressed right from the start is this: the belief that abuse is love. And this belief doesn't just come from the abuser. Sometimes it comes from the person being abused too. Sometimes it's something they've been told so many times that it starts to sound like truth. Other times, it's something they tell themselves just to make sense of the confusion, the attachment, and the pain they're experiencing. But no matter where it comes from, abuse is not love. Not when it's followed by "I'm sorry." Not when it's explained with "I didn't mean it." Not when it's justified with "I just care about you." Not when it's disguised as protection, passion, or deep emotional connection. Abuse is not love, under any circumstance. This misconception is one of the most dangerous because it doesn't just confuse people on the outside, it traps people on the inside. It creates a false reality where harm is reframed as care, where control is mistaken for concern, and where pain becomes something someone feels like they have to endure in order to keep the relationship. And once that belief takes hold, it becomes incredibly difficult to separate what's real from what's been conditioned. At the same time, there's another harmful belief that often gets tied into this: the idea that if it were really that bad, they would just leave. But leaving isn't simple, and it isn't always safe. Because staying is not always about love, it's often about survival. By the time the abuse becomes clear, the person experiencing it is usually already deeply entangled. There may be financial dependence, shared responsibilities, children, or a life that has been built around that relationship. Support systems may have been slowly stripped away. Friends may have been pushed out. Family connections may have weakened. What's left can feel like isolation. And then there's fear, real, justified fear. Leaving can escalate everything. When someone who thrives on control feels that control's slipping, their behavior can become more unpredictable and more dangerous. Threats may intensify. Manipulation may become more extreme. In many situations, the moment someone tries to leave is when they are at the highest risk of harm. So staying is not a sign that it isn't serious. It's often a sign that the situation is more complex and more dangerous than people realize. And within that complexity, the idea that abuse is love continues to grow stronger. Because abuse rarely starts in a way that's easy to recognize. It often begins with intensity, someone who makes you feel important, wanted, and deeply seen. Someone who creates a sense of connection that feels rare. They may move quickly, speak in absolutes, and make you feel like you found something meaningful. But intensity is not love, it's often the setup. Then control begins to appear, but it doesn't show up as control at first. It sounds like concern. It sounds like care. "I just don't like when you wear that. I worry about who you're talking to. I'm just trying to protect you." Over time, those words shift into expectations, then into restrictions, and eventually into isolation. And then comes the cycle, the harm, followed by the apology. The emotional damage, followed by comfort. The breaking point, followed by promises to change. This cycle is where the confusion deepens. Because when someone hurts you and then turns around and comforts you, it creates a powerful emotional bond. The pain is real, but so is the relief that follows. The apology feels like proof of love. The good moments feel like confirmation that things can be different. And that hope becomes something someone holds on to, even when everything else is telling them something isn't right. This is not love. This is conditioning. It teaches someone to associate love with instability, to associate care with control, to associate pain with connection. And over time, that conditioning can become so strong that even when the abuse is recognized, it's still defended, minimized, or explained away. But no amount of explanation changes the truth. Abuse is not love. It does not become love because someone says the right words afterward. It does not become love because there are good moments in between the bad ones. And it does not become love because it's hard to walk away from. Love does not hurt you and then ask for credit for apologizing. Over time, the person being abused may start to internalize everything. They may believe the abuse is their fault. They may feel like if they were different, more understanding, less reactive, more patient, things would improve. That belief keeps them stuck, constantly trying to fix something they never caused. Love does not require you to shrink yourself to survive. And then there's the long-term impact, the part that doesn't always get talked about, but affects everything that comes after. Because even if the relationship ends, the effects don't just disappear. They follow people into future relationships, shaping how they think, how they feel, and how they respond to others. Someone who has been conditioned to associate love with chaos may struggle with stability. Healthy relationships can feel unfamiliar, even uncomfortable. Consistency might feel suspicious instead of reassuring. They may find themselves waiting for something to go wrong, because that's what they've been conditioned to expect. Or they may find themselves pulled back into similar dynamics, not because they want to be hurt, but because it feels familiar. The intensity, the emotional highs and lows, the push and pull, it can feel like real love simply because it mirrors what they've experienced before. Trust becomes complicated, not just trusting others, but trusting themselves. When someone has been manipulated or made to question their own reality, it becomes difficult to rely on their own instincts. They may second-guess everything, overanalyze small situations, or struggle to feel secure even when there's no threat present. Self-worth also carries lasting damage. When someone has been made to feel small, dismissed, or unimportant over time, those messages don't just disappear. They can show up as self-doubt, fear of abandonment, or the belief that love has to be earned instead of simply received. And then comes the internalized question, why did I stay? That question can turn into guilt. It can turn into shame. But the truth is, staying was never about weakness. It was about navigating something layered, emotional, and often dangerous in the best way possible at the time. And none of it means that what was experienced was love. Because real love is consistent. It is safe. It does not make you question your worth or your sanity. It does not isolate you. It does not control you. It does not break you down and then expect recognition for putting pieces back together. Love supports. Love respects. Love allows you to exist fully, without fear of punishment for being who you are. Personal message. To the ones living in this right now, this part is for you. If you've ever found yourself trying to convince yourself that what you're experiencing is love, just so it makes sense, please understand that you're not wrong for feeling that way. You're not wrong for holding on to the good moments or believing in the potential of what things could be. But that feeling does not change the truth. You are not too much. You are not the problem. And you are not the reason someone else chooses to hurt you. No matter how many times it's been said to you, no matter how it's been explained or justified, this is not what love is supposed to feel like. You deserve to feel safe without conditions. You deserve to be respected without having to earn it through endurance. You deserve a kind of love that doesn't come with fear attached to it. And if you're still there, trying to understand it, you're not alone. And if you've already walked away but still feel the impact, you're not broken. You're healing from something that was never meant to be called love in the first place. Final thought. At some point, the cycle has to be broken, not just in actions, but in understanding. Because as long as abuse is mistaken for love, whether by the person causing it or the person experiencing it, the pattern continues. The truth is not complicated. Even if accepting it is difficult, abuse is not love. It never has been, and it never will be. Not because of apologies, not because of history, and not because of how strong it feels in certain moments. Love does not destroy you, and then ask to be called something beautiful. Breaking that belief means relearning everything, what love looks like, what it feels like, and what it should never require. It means understanding that peace is not something to question, and consistency is not something to fear. Because real love doesn't leave you questioning your worth. It doesn't leave you trying to prove you deserve better. And it never asks you to lose yourself just to keep it. And once that truth settles in, everything changes. What you accept, what you walk away from, and what you choose moving forward. Thank you for listening. Until next time.